Are we good, Selene? Okay, so welcome everyone.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. Okay.
Hmm.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining Cabrini's workshop today. We are about to get started with a presentation on temporary protective status for Venezuelan nationals. We have Guillermo Iglesias, who is Cabrini's own immigration attorney, and also a special guest, Oscar Montes, who was our previous immigration attorney. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comment section. We will get to them at the end of the presentation. My name is Selene Suchelt, and I'm the community organizer for Cabrini's Justice for Immigrant Program, and I'm happy to be facilitating today. With that said, I'm gonna pass it on to Mr. Guillermo Iglesias.
Hello everyone. So we're here for temporary protective status, TPS for Venezuelans. Just as a reminder, this is not legal advice. This presentation does not replace an individual consultation with an immigration lawyer or BIA accredited representative. If you think you or someone you know have been victims of immigration fraud, please call the NYS district attorney. The number is provided here. And here at Cabrini, we provide free consultations. You can call us at 212-791-4592, extension 100 to make an appointment. So the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas designates Venezuela for temporary protective status for 18 months. On March 18th, so Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas designated Venezuela for TPS, temporary protective status, for 18 months until September 2022. The new designation of TPS for Venezuela enables Venezuelan nationals and individuals without nationality who last resided in Venezuela, currently residing in the United States, to file an initial application for TPS so long as they meet the eligibility requirements. This designation is due to the extraordinary and temporary conditions in Venezuela that prevents nationals from returning safely, including a complex humanitarian crisis marked by widespread hunger and malnutrition, a growing influence and presence of non-state armed groups, repression, and a crumbling infrastructure. TPS can be extended to a country with conditions that fall into one or more of the three statutory bases for designation: ongoing armed conflict, environmental disasters, or extraordinary and temporary conditions. So what is TPS? TPS is a status that allows you to live and work legally in the United States. It is valid for 18 months at a time. It allows you to work, or allows you to apply for a work permit and a social security number, and may be renewed for as long as Venezuela is designated as a TPS country. TPS is considered a non-immigrant status. Therefore, a person with TPS is not eligible to receive a green card or become a legal permanent resident solely through TPS. However, a person can still obtain a green card through other means, such as marrying a US citizen, a US resident, or being petitioned by a US parent. When can I apply for TPS? Eligible applicants can apply for TPS for Venezuela between March 9th, 2021 and September 5th, 2021. The registration dates for TPS last 180 days. If I'm approved, how long will TPS be valid for? The current period of TPS for Venezuela ends on September 9th, 2022, after which the US government can choose to extend TPS for Venezuela. If it does get extended and you were approved during this current registration period, you would still need to renew your registration during the next registration period. Who is eligible for TPS for Venezuela? You must be a Venezuelan national. You must be residing in the United States on March 8, 2021, and you have been physically present in the United States continuously since March 9th, 2021. What document will I need for my TPS application? In order to apply for TPS, you would need these documents to prove three things: that you are a Venezuelan national, that you were residing in the United States on March 8th, 2021, and lastly, that you have been physically present in the United States continuously since March 9th, 2021. Proof of a Venezuelan nationality can be shown by having a passport of Venezuela, a birth certificate with photo identification, or a national identity document from Venezuela with your photo. You don't really need all three. One of these three is suffice to prove that you're a national of Venezuela. And if you do not have any of the primary evidence listed above, you must submit an affidavit of support. An affidavit, a signed statement with proof of your unsuccessful efforts to obtain such documents and an explanation why the consular process of your home country, this being Venezuela, was unavailable to you, and affirming that you are a national of your country. You will need to show your date of entry into the United States, which can be shown by providing your passport with the entry stamp, the I-94, which is the arrival and departure record. And if you arrived into the United States without an inspection, you can provide proof of continuous residence since on or before March 8th, 2021. Residency in the United States on or before March 8th, 2021 till the present. This can be shown by providing the following to USCIS. You can provide employment records, pay stubs, W-2 forms, IRS tax transcripts, state verifications of filing, state taxes, letters from your employers, statements from banks with whom you've done business with, rent receipts, utility bills, for example, your gas bill, electric bill, phone bill, receipts, letters from companies showing dates you received service, school records, report cards, letters from school, just any records from school that your children attended in the United States, showing the names of the schools and the date of attendance. You can show hospital or medical records for treatments you or your children received, showing the name of the medical facility or physician and the date of the treatment or hospitalization. You can show attestations by your churches, unions, or other organizations concerning your residence and identifying you by name. Other documents you can show are birth certificates of your children born here, dated back transactions or wire transfers made within the United States, letters, US Social Security cards, driver license, selective service cards, contracts, mortgages, insurance policies, or any other miscellaneous documents you can have. A petitioner who wishes to apply for TPS does not have to submit all these documents. They can submit a combination of the above mentioned documents as long as it shows that the petitioner has been physically present in the United States since March 9th. Submit as many documents as possible to be considered as evidence. If I am from Venezuela, is TPS guaranteed for me? No. Even if you are from Venezuela, you would be ineligible for TPS if you have voluntarily returned to Venezuela or to a country in which you have last habitually resided outside the United States. You have not continuously resided in the United States since March 8, 2021, or you've been convicted of any felony or 2 or more misdemeanors committed in the United States. If you have ever been arrested, cited, or convicted of an offense, you should obtain a certificate of disposition for each matter, and you should speak to an immigration law expert before applying for TPS. Dual nationality. For applicants who have dual nationality, you can apply for TPS. However, if an applicant entered the United States using the Venezuelan passport, it is important to show that the applicant has no connection or ties to that other country in which he or she is a national of. If an applicant entered the United States with a passport other than the Venezuelan passport, then it would be hard to obtain TPS, since the passport used to enter the United States will be considered the applicant's nationality for TPS and asylum purposes. So it is important to show that you entered the country using the Venezuelan passport. Asylum applicants. Pending asylum applicants may apply for TPS. TPS does not cause a problem for pending asylum applicants. This is for affirmative asylum applicants who have submitted a application for asylum with the asylum office, rather than someone who has a pending case before an immigration judge. Having TPS is a good protection for a person who has a pending asylum claim. In the event that the asylum claim gets denied, you have the protection of TPS to back you up. Someone could possibly wait to file a late initial TPS registration based on a basis of denied asylum application. Such a late initial TPS registration can be filed within 60 days of a denied asylum application. And if you have a strong asylum claim, then it would be strongly recommended to pursue asylum rather than TPS, since a person can always adjust their status after a certain period once the person has obtained the asylum. Asylum can lead to a green card, and TPS does not give you the same avenue of residency within the United States or citizenship within the United States. Student visas. People with student visas can apply for TPS. A student visa does not make you ineligible for TPS. You can apply for TPS without the working permit, the work authorization document, so that a person with a student visa is not in violation of employment restrictions imposed by the student visa. You can always apply for work authorization, the working permit, in the future if the student visa expires while you still have TPS, and TPS is still designated, or Venezuela is still designated as a country for TPS. Which forms will I need to apply for TPS? In order to apply for TPS, you'll need to file at least Form I-821, which is the TPS form. If you would like to also obtain the work permit, you also need to file the I-765. If you would like to request a fee waiver, you will also need to file the I-912, or you can ask for a fee waiver in writing. You may need to file Form I-601 if certain inadmissibility grounds apply in your case. One thing about TPS is that each person who wishes to obtain TPS, who wishes to apply for TPS, must file their own I-821. There are no derivatives for people wishing to apply for TPS. The filing fee. Applicants submitting their first TPS application and requesting a working permit need to pay a fee of $545. This includes the TPS form, the I-821, which is $50, biometric services, which is the fingerprint and photograph, which is $85, and the I-765, which is the working permit, which will cost you $410. Applicants who are younger than 14 years old only need to pay $50. They only need to pay for the I-821 TPS form. They don't have to pay for the biometric services, or they don't pay for the I-765, the working permit. Applicants 66 years or older only need to pay $135. They pay for the I-821, the TPS form, and the biometric fee. They don't pay for the working permit document. For applicants submitting their first TPS application and are not looking to get a working permit, applicants younger than 14 will only need to pay $50 for the I-821. There's no biometric fee. And applicants 14 years or older will only need to pay $135, which is $50 for the TPS form and the biometric fee. Applicants who are re-registering for TPS and requesting working permits, for applicants younger than 14, you will only need to pay $410. And you will only get charged for the working permit form. The biometric and the TPS form will cost you $0. Applicants 14 years or older will also need to pay $495, which is the working permit form, which is $410, and the biometric fee, which is $85. The TPS form will be $0 for applicants looking to re-register with the working permit. Applicants looking to re-register for TPS and not requesting a working permit, applicants younger than 14 requesting TPS will need to pay $0. Applicants 14 years or older requesting TPS will only need to pay a total of $85, which is just the biometric fee. Fee waiver. Certain people can apply for a fee waiver if you meet certain criteria. I would advise you to speak with your attorney if you have one, or if you're looking to have one, speak to an attorney to see if you can apply for the fee waiver, if you would qualify for it. You would need to show, for the fee waiver, you can show economic hardship or evidence that you receive public benefits such as Medicaid or SNAP. And we are finished, so we are open for questions. Yeah, it's on you, Selena, right? You have the questions?
Yes. Thank you so much, Guillermo, for that presentation. I think that was quite thorough. We do have some questions that folks submitted early before the presentation. From VIA, Venezuelan and Immigrants Aid, they said that they found a lot of their common questions were, can children apply for TPS?
Yes, children can apply for TPS. As I mentioned before, children who are 14 years or younger get a reduced fee for TPS. It's $50 just for the TPS. They don't get charged for the biometric, or they don't get charged for the working permit if they choose to do so. So yeah, children can apply for TPS. They would just need to do it on their own. As I explained before, there's no derivatives for TPS. So each person, if there's a family, for example, of 5, a mother, father, 2 children, a grandmother, all 5 of them will need to apply for their own TPS, which has their own fees.
Great, thank you so much for answering that question. Another one is, what is the legal scenario for a Venezuelan that's lived in the US for more than 10 or 15 years?
If a person is a Venezuelan has lived in the US for more than 10 or 15 years, they can apply for TPS. They just have to show what I explained before, their proof of Venezuelan nationality, proof that they've been living in the United States, residing in the United States since March 8th, and proof that they've been physically living in the United States since March 9th, 2021. They would have to show all those documents, just proof of the Venezuelan nationality, their proof of them living in the United States, and proof of entrance into the United States. They could be by the passport stamps, your I-94. I believe for people back then, maybe 10, 15 years ago, they might have given you a little card, which is the I-94, the entrance and departure card. But I think more recently, when a person comes into the United States, that form, they don't give that out anymore. So you just download it online. So yeah, you would have to bring all those documents in. You have to fill out the form, the I-821. Fill it out completely. If you wish to get the working permit, you would also have to fill it out. And the moment that application gets sent, you would have to send USCIS a money order of the money that's owed. I believe I said it was 535 for both TPS and the working permit. So that's what a person would need to show if they've been living here 10, 15 years to apply for TPS.
Thank you, Guillermo. Another question we had was, my asylum case is in Florida, but I moved to a different state. Can I apply for TPS with my new address? Would applying for TPS affect my asylum case?
I'm not sure whether having your asylum claim in another state would. I mean, regardless, you have to notify wherever you're applied for asylum, you change of address. But if you have a pending asylum claim, depending if it's an affirmative asylum claim or a defensive one, if it's an affirmative, having or applying for TPS, it's not a detriment. It's more like having TPS in your back pocket just in case that your asylum claim gets denied. That means you're protected from not being deported, and you can also have your working papers. But if it's a defensive asylum claim, meaning it's before an immigration judge, I would recommend that person talk to their lawyer who's working on their case to see if obtaining TPS would negatively affect their defensive asylum claim. Oh, Oscar.
Yeah, can I just say that generally what I would say to that is that, like, it's generally a good idea to have your address updated with USCIS anyway. Technically, you're supposed to do that, right? There might be like strategic reasons why someone might not change their address. Like maybe they feel like they are in a area that's more favorable for asylum, so they want to keep their asylum case in like a certain location instead of moving it. But I really don't see why it would be an issue, right? You just want to get your work permit and your receipts and all those things. So just make sure that you put that at an address where you can get it. It shouldn't conflict, but I mean, it's really up to you. And yeah, like Guillermo said, it's that's all like decisions to be made with your legal representative if you have one.
Thank you, Oscar.
Yes, thank you, Oscar and Guillermo. Another question that we had is, I've been living in the US for 2 years, but I have permanent residence in Panama. Am I still eligible for TPS?
That's a good question. That's a good example of someone who has residency in a different country. All the information I've been receiving on TPS would lead me to believe that a person has a lower chances of getting their TPS application approved, just because on the application itself, you have to provide any residency. Like if you're a resident of another country, if you show that you're a resident of another country, USCIS is going to look at that as, well, you want to apply for TPS here, but you have another avenue to, to go to other than Venezuela. You have residency in this country. That just shows that there's some type of connection with another country. And if a person does apply for TPS with that residency, USCIS is most likely going to send you a letter, a request for more evidence to show that, to see what the connection is with that country. It's my advice that if you have residency in another country, speak to an attorney, an immigration attorney, to see what your options may be for obtaining TPS.
Great, thank you. And one last question is, I came here shortly before March 8th, but I don't have any documents that could help me prove that I plan to live here permanently. My rent and services are in someone else's name.
For those cases, yeah, it's going to be hard to apply for TPS if you can't show that you don't have, like, you've been living here physically in the United States. I mean, you can try to show maybe if you've been living in someone else's home, under someone else's home, they took you in. You can show evidence that you've been receiving mail at that address, maybe. Some type of evidence, maybe a bank statement that shows that. I mean, in order to open a bank statement, you need to have an address and it has your name on it. If you have like a bank account that has the address where you've been living, even though it's not your own, that can also help with the dates, before March 8th or 9th. If you've been receiving mail at the home you've been living at that shows your name and the address, that could be sufficient evidence to prove that you've been here before March 8 or 9. Any type of evidence, even if you don't live there, I mean, even if you don't have your name on it, you can show. Those are the type of evidence that I would want to have, at least, a bank account, letters to that address that shows, you're living in the United States.
Maybe you get like a statement from whoever you're living with, or whoever, like if you're paying rent to someone, some kind of like affidavit from them. Maybe you could copy your passport if you came in with a passport, like showing like not only your entry into the United States, but copy every page, like cover to cover, and say like, look, like I had, like there's no exit stamp, right? I never left. Like that. I don't know. I mean, it's not exclusive, right? Like, try to be creative, right? Like generally you want something with your name, address, and the date on it. And like, obviously, like documents like are better than affidavits, because people, they might be willing to lie for you if they like you. But I mean, if it's better than nothing, right? So be creative is what I would say.
All right. Thank you, Oscar.
Okay.
Any other questions, Selena?
I believe that that's pretty much it. Some of them, other ones are kind of redundant around the double nationality issues, but I think you covered that earlier in the presentation. And with that, I think we'll wrap up. If you are seeing this presentation after the live session, feel free to leave a comment or a direct message and we will get back to you. You can also call us directly to speak with one of the attorneys. We are leaving the our office line here. And I just want to extend my gratitude to our Cabrini's immigration attorney, Guillermo Iglesias, and our former lead attorney, Oscar Montes Esquire, who is now in California. So thank you very much for joining us. We will resume the presentation in Espanol at 6:45.
Thank you.